hefty cost, but threat of activation.
I know, but like
It's gonna make combat a nightmare, much like that Kithkin uncommon.
yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to not just another episode of Lords of Limited. We've got the Lorwyn Eclipsed crash course here. My name is Ben Warney and joining me on the line, as always, Mr. Ethan Changeling Wayfinder Sachs. Ethan, your boy's back. This is a 3-mana 1/2 shapeshifter with Changeling. Once creature enters, you can search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle. How do you feel about Skittering Surveyor 2.0?
I mean, I'm scared. I'm like both extremely excited and very nervous that it won't live up to the hype. That Skittering Surveyor with creature types is not good enough in 2026. But, spoiler alert, it is currently on my notable commons list. So I'm coming in feeling very good about it, and the set will have to prove me right or prove me wrong. But I'm excited to see it back for sure.
Much like Stranger Things, you believe.
That's right. I believe. And then I will put my binder very emotionally back on the shelf. How are you feeling about, I know Skittering Surveyor is not perhaps your pride and joy, but about the set as a whole? We're diving into the crash course. This always feels like quite a beast of an undertaking. And we're back to a Magic Universe set, a beloved Magic Universe set at that. How are you feeling about the crash course today?
I'm feeling excited to get to play with Lorwyn cards. I have not drafted a Lorwyn set ever. It was during my hiatus from Magic. I had seen next to no Lorwyn previews prior to Friday when I sat down to grade all the cards, and I like what I see. I think the uncommons look absolutely juiced to me, and there seem to be a lot of powerful commons too, and they look like fun cards to play with. I think I'm excited to dive in and cast some Merfolk, cast some goblins.
Yeah, there's some things about this format that excite me. I will say, not to begin on a low note, but I'm a little dubious about the lifetime or about the longevity of a set like this that is so focused on creature types and typal. I messaged you, I was like, I'm a little worried that after like week 2, this set's gonna feel kind of boring. But there are some sort of like tier 2 things seeded in that seem like they might be exciting. So who knows? But I'm coming in with some tempered expectations. But I'm also I've got some takes for sure to run by you. So we'll see how those go.
Yeah, I'm locked, I'm loaded, I'm ready to go.
So we're here for Crash Course season. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. We are not going to be doing, if you're consuming a plethora of limited content, we won't be doing a card by card graded evaluation. Though if you want to see all of the commons and uncommons graded by each of us individually, we will have a spreadsheet available for you where you download the show. What we're going to be doing here is some broad strokes, big picture things. We're going to first run through the mechanics and archetypes since we didn't get to do, I think we'll be doing that in the Crash Course moving forward anyway. But we didn't get to do our sort of full preview episode usually. So we want to make sure we set the stage for what the format is like if you have not poured over the spoiler yourself. Then we're going to get into, each of us have been tasked with a few things coming into this episode. Firstly is 5 format truths, things we expect to be true about the format. We're going to make some big, bold predictions there. Then we're going to go into each of the colors and what their identities are. And along with that will come us listing our top 3 uncommons for each color and any notable commons we want to shout out. We'll round things out with some sleeper commons, some multicolor uncommons to talk about, and then any big picture takeaways we want to round out the episode with. So that's what we got in store for you. It is a crash course. We're going to be packing it in. Let's do a little housekeeping before we get into the bulk of the episode. Shout about the Patreon page, patreon.com/Lords of Limited is where folks can go to give back to the show if they so choose. We've got a lot of great perks over at the Patreon page. One of them is access to our Lords of Limited Discord, which is an amazing community of like-minded limited individuals. And the other is access to our podcast feed, where you get not only this episode a day early ad-free, but also access to our bonus weekly episode of Lords Unlimited. This week, Ben had a little hiatus, but I'm going to be having our good friend Jared, aka JMaz, back on to talk about a very exciting addition to the show, maybe a revival for the show, which is the Lords of Limited Treasure Hunt is back. Jared decided he wanted to take that on, so we're going to have some achievements posted up in the Discord for folks to cross off. We've got, I think, 10 achievements, sort of race to get there first and grab them. And then we're also got 3 sort of like see who can get the biggest number of achievements. That'll be races throughout the format. If any or all of that sounds of interest to you, head on over to the Patreon page. And we want to shout out our new patrons the first week that they join. So this week we're welcoming Nicholas, Cobalt Cohen, John, Cotsby, Michael, Archetype, and Andrew. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We really appreciate your support.
Those people want to get better at Magic in 2026, and you should too. Cannot say thank you enough. Also, I feel like we would be remiss talking about the return of the treasure hunt and not shouting out treasure hunt legend Generation D20. If you're out there listening, hit us up. It's coming back. Maybe this will reel you back into Magic in the podcast.
Let's talk about we've got the full scope of the mechanics, the full scope of the draft archetypes. So we're going to set the stage for Lorwyn Eclipsed now. Mechanics. First up, we've got Vivid, which is an ability word that highlights abilities that care about the number of colors among permanents you control. Obviously, will be between 0 as the minimum and 5 as the maximum. And this seems like fairly supported, as we'll talk about, but has things throughout all 5 colors that seem to care about this / maybe enable it as well.
Are you a believer? Yes or no? Great or garbage segment
on Vivid?
Yeah.
Well, this is a spoiler for one of my format truths. I'm saying great on Vivid.
Wow. In the sense of you think Vivid is a 5-color deck that exists, or you think Vivid cards are going to be good enough, like if you're triggering them with 3, for example?
Here's something that I said to Ben specifically before we recorded.
Keep it moving.
I said during mechanics and draft archetypes, let's try and not equivocate. And here we are landing on Vivid. We'll get to it when we get to my format truths.
I'm just so juiced to talk about Magic. I've been dealing with school all week.
This is this ice cream sundae at the end of your meal.
All right. Blight is up next. Blight X means to put X -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. And I think the important thing to know about Blight is that there's ways to turn this, what looks like a cost, into upside in this format. And it's, I think, a big player in the archetypes that are not the seeded tribal archetypes.
Correct. Yeah, which we'll get to, but it's sort of like 5 and 5. 5 are, hey, here's a creature type, and that's what this archetype is about. And then 5 are sort of dealer's choice. What do you think this archetype is about? And we'll get to that as well. Changeling is back, and this is really important in the context of this being a set that cares about what is it? It's not tribal, it's typal.
Typal.
I know. All right. Typal. In a set that cares about typal and creature types, Changeling is huge because changelings are creatures that are every creature type.
Next up is Kindred, which is a card type that's added to non-creature cards to allow them to have creature types, which listeners were very kind to educate us about. I did not know the difference between Kindred and Typal.
Yeah. And I think that's also super interesting when like the Elves deck seems to care about things in the graveyard. And so like when your Kindred Elf spell is in the graveyard, that counts as an elf.
Well, and Kithkin too. Kithkin are super typal.
Yeah. Convoke is back. This is an alternate way to cast spells. Each creature you tap while casting spells with Convoke pays for either 1 generic or 1 mana of that creature's color.
Behold is another returning mechanic. This is something that's going to say, for example, like Behold an Elf, which means you have to choose an elf that you control or reveal an elf card from your hand. And oftentimes that's going to be tied to those 5 main creature types of, we should say what they are. There's merfolk, boggarts, elves, boggarts being goblins. And what? Why are you laughing at me?
Your boomer is showing by saying boggarts instead of goblins.
No, they're called boggarts, aren't they? I thought I was trying to correct myself.
Oh, I think it's goblins.
But it's boggarts in the plane of Lorwyn.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm for the Borthoses out there.
Your boomer's showing anyway.
Elementals, and you distracted me. Kithkin is the last one.
For sure. Evoke is sort of back, but it's only on a cycle of mythics. It's an alternate cost on some permanents. If you pay the evoke cost, you have to sacrifice the creature when it enters.
And Persist is an old one. When a creature with Persist dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, it returns to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. So kind of get 2 lives from your card there.
Interesting in conversation with the Blight -1/-1 counters in the set as well.
Correct.
All right, draft archetypes. We'll start with the 5 typals, and then we'll get into the 5 sort of secondary tier 2 ones. Blue-white is Merfolk. The WotC Blurb is use a variety of tricky tapping synergies to cast your spells for cheap and disrupt your opponents. The signpost uncommon is Jeep Channel Duelist, white blue for a 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, untap target merfolk you control, and other merfolk you control get +1/+1.
Red Black Goblins. Throw a boggart at every problem. Find ways to put -1/-1 counters on your disposable goblin forces and reap rewards. So signpost we've got here is Boggart Cursecrafter. It's black-red for a 2/3 with Death Touch, and whenever another goblin you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Green-white is Kithkin. Use the power of shared consciousness to spread abilities among Kithkin. The more Kithkin you play, the greater your thought weft grows. The signpost is Thought Weft Lieutenant. It's green-white for a 2/2. Whenever this creature or another Kithkin you control enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. That packs a punch.
Blue-red elementals is up next. Burn bright like a flamekin. Cast big spells to unleash seismic elemental power. Card we've got as an example here is Twin Flame Travelers. This one is kind of a wah-wah compared to the others. It's 2 blue-red for a 3/3 uncommon with flying. If a triggered ability of another elemental you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. This is a lot of hoops.
Kind of how I feel about blue-red elementals in general is wah-wah. And lastly is green-black elves. Harness the cycle of nature and use your graveyard as a resource to overwhelm your opponents. The signpost here is Morkant's Loyalist. 1 black-green for a 3/2 elf warrior. Other elves you control get +1/+1, and when this creature dies, return another target elf card from your graveyard to your hand.
All right, that takes us on to the 5 archetypes where WotC didn't give us a tagline. So first up of those is blue-black, what looks to be flash or casting things at instant speed. Signpost is Voracious Tome Skimmer. It's Dimir hybrid for a 2/3 uncommon fairy rogue with flying. Whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you can pay 1 life. If you do, draw a card.
Yeah, red-green treasure matters. I think red-green has to be some sort of flavor of vivid, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And that signpost here is Noggle Robber, which is 1 Gruul hybrid for a 3/3. When it enters or dies, you make a treasure token.
Next up, we've got red-white Blight Sinks, which is Hovel Hurler. This is 3 and Boros for a 6/7 uncommon giant warrior that enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. And then you can pay Boros to remove a counter from this creature to give another target creature you control +1/+0 and flying until end of turn at sorcery speed.
Next is blue-green, which is vivid. We've got Glisterbairn, which is 2 and triple Simic hybrid, so 5 total mana for a 1/4. Creature type is oof, and I also say oof to a 5 mana 1/4.
Yes.
But the vivid trigger here is at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So this, by itself, will give something +2/+2 until end of turn every combat step.
It's so clunky, though. That card is clunktastic.
It sure is.
Lastly, we've got black-white Blight Sinks, which is Reaping Willow, 1 Orzhov for an uncommon 3/6 Treefolk Cleric with lifelink. Enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it, and you can pay 1 in Orzhov to remove 2 counters from this creature to return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
If you know anything about me, you know I am very excited for black-white Blight Sinks.
Oh,
just
absolutely.
Jumping through some hoops to make your cards do literally anything. Sign me up. Let's get to these format truths. I'll go first since we already sort of teased one of mine, but that one is last. So my format truths here, the predictions I have, big bold predictions for Lorwyn Eclipsed. Number 1, uncommons matter in a big way. And commons have 3 significant tiers, like 3 pretty big gaps. There are strong pulls, like cards that are going to matter, then gap, then cards that are good in one deck, and then a gap, cards that are filler. And there's a lot of that third tier.
There are a lot of that third tier. I agree. I co-sign that take 100% and have one that is very similar.
Number 2, just like lessons and to a lesser extent allies, and those both got a bump for their types in Avatar, changelings get as much, if not more, of a bump in Lorwyn Eclipsed. I think they're not only are they going to be just like gluey in the draft in terms of delaying your decision, going in multiple decks. They're going to juice up your, main typal decks. I also think they're going to be the glue for what I'm sort of envisioning is going to be these sort of off typal air quotes party decks for Zendikar Rising folks, where I think what you're going to have in like maybe a red white deck is like an elemental payoff or maybe a Kithkin payoff, and then two changelings. And your changelings play double duty in supporting this Kithkin and this elemental thing. So I think you're going to have decks where you can sort of steal or borrow from some other typal groups, and those are going to be those 5 off decks. All of that is to say that changelings are better than you think.
I agree. The other thing you didn't mention is a lot of them are hybrid, and so they're going to be 2
Yes.
colors for Vivid as well.
Number 3, while some of the removal looks clunky, interacting is as important as ever. Breaking up linear synergies and protecting your own will be how games are won or lost.
Yeah, I don't have a take like that one, but that was something I was thinking about while I was grading cards. Is some of the typal lords, like the Merfolk Lord or the Kithkin Lord, for example, are pretty pushed, or even
Yeah.
the Elf Lord, that give your team +1/+1 essentially, and those are going to be so easily disruptible by interaction. And yeah, so I like that take. I don't have one that's similar. I don't know if I would go quite that hard on how important removal is. I also have not looked at any of the rares yet, to be clear, full disclosure, to see how many absurd bombs we're going to be dealing with if we're in an avatar situation or not.
Number 4, Blight is a format defining mechanic, and like Bargain from Wilds of Eldraine, is more of an upside than at first blush. And I think figuring out how to maximize this mechanic in draft, deck building, and gameplay is going to put players ahead of the curve.
Yes, I have one that is extremely similar to that. Co-sign it completely.
And number 5, Vivid is the 6th linear deck in the format. So if we think about the 5 creature types as the linear decks, I think Vivid is the 6th. I think a lot of the payoffs for Vivid, when you tip the scale from 2, like I was sort of, as I was evaluating Vivid cards, I was like, okay, is this playable in a 2-color deck? If this gets a trigger for 2, and a lot of them are fine, but when you tip the scale from 2 to 3 or 3 plus, these payoffs are big, and it looks not only supported, but also like some payoffs. Some of the payoffs you're like, I'd play that in a deck, but some of them no decks will want other than the Vivid deck. Like
Correct.
Explosive Prodigy is 1 and a red for a 1/1 with Vivid, deals Vivid damage to a creature when it enters. Like red decks are probably not interested in 2-mana 1/1 deal 2. What?
I disagree completely. I think the card's excellent.
You think the card's just excellent?
Like,
okay.
It's a baby Flame Tongue. The card's amazing.
I guess 2-mana 1/1 deal 2. Yeah, so it's probably pretty good. Anyway, so maybe bad example.
I think that's one of the only examples that wouldn't have worked for me.
Okay, it's going to be a lot easier to be like, oh, the Merfolk uncommon is here, pick 5. Merfolk is open. I think it's going to be a lot harder in weeks 1 or 2 to like understand all the pieces that make the Vivid deck tick, and I think a lot of the payoffs and enablers will go late. Like, there's a lot of fixing in the format. There's hybrid cards, as we already sort of mentioned, that turn these on. Like, you get 1 hybrid card in play, and that's 2 colors. And some cards are seeded that gain different colors. This archetype, or this, I guess it is an archetype, but this deck looks supported to me, and I think is going to perform.
I'm excited that you're excited about that, because I was not very excited, and you're talking me up on it.
Great.
A lot of the Vivid payoffs, though, to me, the question I have is they're so expensive, and a lot of them are at 4 mana or 5 mana, and they're kind of clunky looking. They're powerful, don't get me wrong. Like, then you're going to have a functional curve into, like, usually the recipe for a deck that is stretching into multiple colors like that. And I think I'm kind of rethinking it in that maybe you'll be able to be a 2-color deck and use hybrid cards to get you into your Vivid territory. Like, maybe you're not going to have a bad mana base. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's something I'm definitely rethinking already. But my usual recipe for that type of deck would be interaction early, multicolored payoffs late, right? But you're going to have to build your board out along the way as the Vivid deck. Like, your Vivid payoff can't be the first thing hitting the board. So I think that's just going to be a different kind of deck building puzzle. All right, number 1 for me, format truths. The decks in the format look fairly prescribed, which I usually don't love, but The hybrid mana and the design of the set makes it seem like drafts are still going to be pretty skill intensive. So I think cautiously optimistic. Like this kind of has Bloomborough vibes to me, which I did not
Yeah.
like at all. But I think this is going to be a much more interesting draft experience than Bloomborough was.
Yeah, that's my, like Blight and Vivid feel like they are enough of an interesting puzzle for me so far that I'm not ready to call this just like paint by numbers Bloomborough kind of set.
Number 2, each color has a primary tribe except for black, thanks to having better cards of one of their two tribes that goes along with them. So I think white really focused on Kithkin, blue really focused on Merfolk. Black is the one that doesn't. I think it's pretty evenly split between goblins and elves. Red really wants goblins, and green really wants elves.
Interesting. That's like I decided to for my color identities to do a primary, secondary, tertiary, and
Okay.
we're almost all lined up there.
Number 3, this is your blight take. Turning blight into upside is going to be the most powerful thing to do in the format.
I really like I don't know if this is it's hard because I feel like it's partially what I hope to be true because Blight excites me. Blight seems like the most interesting puzzle right now. It's the biggest question mark to me. So I don't know if it's just cope and me being like I really want this to be good, but it looks really cool.
It looks really good.
And it's so like not omnipresent in that it's in every color, like it's mostly in Mardu, but there's a lot of cards with Blight on them and a lot of ways to be like, okay, like sort of there's the self-contained cards that just like I come in with -1/-1 counters and I have ways to remove them. And then it's okay, then how am I using it there? Or is the 2 mana 1/3 that when it dies you draw a card, is that good? Or is the single black 1/1 that when it dies put a -1/-1 counter? Those where Blight counters great. Like, is that what you're supposed to do? All of that seems like part of the puzzle to me.
All right, number 4. Got some early tribe power
I knew
rankings.
you would. I knew you would.
Number 1, Kithkin. Kithkin look absurdly supported, and the curve outs look really nasty.
Yeah, it looks like the boogeyman.
Yeah, I think Kithkin is going to be the best of one boogeyman for sure. Number 2, Merfolk. Number 3, elves. Number 4, goblins. And number 5, wah elementals.
Like a distant 5.
A distant 5. Yeah, I also think the first 3. I also think there's a gap before goblins, but maybe goblins is just going to be not as smacking you in the face obvious, but it certainly looks a tad less supported to me than Kithkin, Merfolk, and elves, because those are the 3 tribes that get great lords.
Yeah, right.
Goblins is kind of and the elemental one is like, what happened here compared to the others?
Yeah. Yep, I agree.
Number 5, uncommons are cracked. The commons outside of the top 10 commons are not.
Wow. It feels like one of the first times where we had a ton of overlap.
Yeah, and I think while having different points, we're largely in agreement. I also have a very fun 6th format truth, which you've kind of already ruined, which is that Ethan is going to fall in love with Mardu Blight in week 2.
Week 2? Hour 2. Hour 2 of early access. Yeah. Yep. It's interesting though. I'm curious. Well, as we get to the colors, I'm sure you also do you have a color power rankings in your head?
Do not. Other than that, it probably lines up with the tribe power rankings. I certainly think white is number 1 for me, but I haven't thought that hard about it.
I'll be curious to sort of try and unpack it because I have some. I'll need to grab a mini therapy session with you after we go through our colors and all the cards because I'm wrestling with some dissonance in my head with what I'm seeing in some colors, but the rankings that I want to put them or the colors that I feel like I want to get deep in draft.
Okay,
let's kick things off by talking about white. Do you want to go first with your identity and some uncommons and commons to chat about?
Sure. So for notes on colors, I said white seems super focused on Kithkin. There are great enablers at common, and then I did my grading in the orders and my notes in the orders of commons first and then uncommons. And so a question I had was, will the payoffs match the great enablers at common? And I think they do. White's uncommons look totally insane, and again, super focused on Kithkin with a lot more blight support as well at uncommon. I think white, and this is true of a lot of the colors, looks a little less focused than usual. Like, because there's a lot of stuff outside of Kithkin too. Like, you're dipping into Merfolk. There's some Vivid stuff, but it looks really strong to me. And I think Kithkin curve outs are going to be one of the default best things to do in the format early on.
So the way I structured mine was I went like primary, secondary, tertiary. Then I tried to come up with a uniting factor between the three if I could, and then any notes that I wanted to make after that. So for me, I said primary Kithkin, secondary Merfolk, tertiary Blight. And it's three pretty distinct camps in my mind. The uniting factor seems to be board presence people. Like white wants to play to the board pretty whether you're Kithkin, whether you're Merfolk, even if you're doing like blight control stuff, I think you want to play to the board. But they all three of them, while being distinct, look fairly strong and viable to me.
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
All right, notable commons. Kicking things off first with Gold Meadow Nomad. Single white for a 1/2, Kithkin Scout, and you can pay white, exile this card from your graveyard to make a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token, activate only as a sorcery.
Yes, this made my sleeper commons, but I could definitely see, like, it would not surprise me if this was a beloved, a data darling, as you say. Like, if this was the top white common, it would not surprise me.
Yeah, I think this card is going to be as good as Kithkin is, and I am starting the format out thinking that Kithkin is going to be very good.
I think it's also worth noting that, like, this could have been a 1/1, but the fact that this is a 1/2 and could potentially wear 2 blight counters before it dies is also huge.
Next up, I've got Spiral into Solitude. 1 and a white for an aura, enchanted creature can't attack or block, and you can pay 1 and a white, blight 1, sacrifice this aura to exile enchanted creature.
The question that never gets old. Will pacifism be good in this format? And you say yes.
I say yes, and I think it's an interesting question because there's a lot of easy, obvious knocks, and maybe this is just recency bias coming off of Avatar. And but the easy, obvious knock against it is that it doesn't turn off Vivid. But I'm not that big of a believer in Vivid, so I don't hate that knock against it. The other obvious knock against it is if your opponent is playing Blight, they can just Blight for free onto the thing that's got Spiral and Solitude on it. But the thing I like about it for white specifically is that I'm trying to think about being able to Blight yourself wherever you want to as an upside. So I think like this cost of 1 and a white Blight 1 might actually be an upside. And if that is the case for your deck, I really like Spiral into Solitude.
I think so. I am not a believer in Spiral into Solitude going into the format myself. It did not make my notable commons list. It did not make my sleeper commons list. I'm not even sure. Maybe I did give it a 0. The other like knock against it that I want to shout out is that not only does it leaving the things on the battlefield, but you already sort of shouted out that the signposts on commons that you care about removing, that you want to disrupt, that you want to get off the battlefield, the lords, putting this on there ain't doing diddly squat.
Well, except it's not like 5 mana to get rid of the thing. You know what I mean? It's another 2 mana plus a potential upside. That's what I'm saying. If you're not actively excited about blighting 1 onto your own stuff, this card is terrible. But
maybe if I reframe it as 2 white, blight 1, exile a creature, that's better. And then the fact that that's in installments, like 2 white, exile a creature, blight 1. Maybe I'm okay. Maybe I like that card. And the fact that this is an installments
is just upside. Yeah. That's how I'm looking at it.
Okay.
If you want Blight 1 as an upside, this card's going to be good. If you don't want Blight 1 as an upside for you, this card is atrocious.
Okay.
Next up, I've got Luminal Hold, which is 3 and a white for an enchantment. Whenever this enchantment enters, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent opponent controls. Until this enchantment leaves the battlefield, you gain 2 life. Nothing to not like here. This card is excellent.
Nothing to not like, says known Banishing Light hater Ben Werney.
Finally turning it around.
Putting it on his notable commons list. Yeah, that should be on my list. It's not currently on my notable commons list, but it should be. The only notable common that you did not list that I did want to shout out, and this should probably be on my sleeper list, but I got eyes for Wanderbrine Preacher, which is 1 and a white for a 2/2 Merfolk Cleric. When it becomes tapped, you gain 2 life. So this has real compassionate healer vibes from Avatar: The Last Airbender to me. Two life is just so much life, and I do think that this is, there's a black 2 mana 2/2 with lifelink, and I do think this is better than that in the context of what Merfolk is doing all this tapping stuff. It's good. There's Convoke in there. There's just lots of like tap this creature to do a thing, and 2 life is a lot of life. So I have eyes for Wanderbrine Preacher.
Okay, I like it.
What about your top 3 uncommons?
So number 1 for me, I have Klachan Festival, which is 2 and a white for a kindred enchantment. It's a Kithkin itself. When this enchantment enters, create 2 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature tokens, and you can pay 4 and a white to create a 1/1 green and white Kithkin creature token. This card is going to be absurd for the old Thought Weft. You're going to get 3 Kithkin entering the battlefield triggers for 3 mana. And normally that costs 4 mana, plus you're going to be able to pump out other ones afterwards. I think Kithkin looks absurd, and I think when this hits the battlefield, the Kithkin deck is going to do absurd things.
Okay, so I did not, in my head, I was like, 3 mana for 2 1/1s is not a great rate, but I had not clocked that the enchantment itself will trigger any Kithkin ETB stuff.
Yeah. I think two 1/1s plus the 3 triggers plus future Kithkin triggers on demand when you need creatures entering the battlefield late in the game and you're out of gas. This card looks incredible to me.
Well, and also you can do it at like the fact that you have instant speed stuff. So for your Thought Weft Kithkin Lord, you're attacking and your opponent doesn't know what you're going to give +1/+1 and trample to.
Correct.
When you have the
It's
activation.
going to make combat a nightmare.
Yeah, nice. Okay, I'm in for it.
Number 2, I've got Moonlit Lamenter. This is 2 and a white for a 2/5 Treefolk Cleric. It enters with a -1/-1 counter on it, and you can pay 1 and a white to remove a counter from this creature to draw a card. Activate only as a sorcery.
In my heart, this is my number 1 white uncommon, but I don't know if it actually is. But this card is
This card's
juiced.
good.
Yeah.
It's 3 mana for a 1/4. Immediately draw a card. And then all of that other stuff I was talking about, like Spiral into Solitude, you've got your pacifism effect. And then all of a sudden your pacifism is pacifism, exile a thing, draw a card on a future turn. The Blight decks look grindy. And I think if you can get the game to slow down and get in the muck with Blight, this card looks absurd.
I agree.
So you left that off your uncommons list.
I did.
Wow. You're just fighting your own nature.
I am fighting my own nature.
Trying to do a service to the listeners.
Maybe it'll age poorly. I don't know.
And in the number 3 slot for me, I've got Thought Weft Imbuer. This is 3 and a white for an uncommon 0/5 Kithkin Advisor. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of Kithkin you control.
Yep. This one I'm not as excited about.
There's so many ways to give Kithkin trample. This is going to come down and give a thing +3/+3 or +4/+4.
You just are so prone. You love these cards. Team Avatar, for example.
Team Avatar.
Love these kinds of cards.
Yes.
And I like them less than you.
Yeah. This is also an 0/5, though. It's going to brick wall your opponent's offense on the ground. This card is...
it doesn't brick wall. I can attack everything into it.
Nah.
It has no power.
Nah.
This card, I think it's bad. Like, I think you're playing it in your Kithkin decks, but top uncommons over all of my 3, I don't know about that. Okay, my number 1, the uncommon I am really excited about is Meander's Guide. 2 and a white for a 3/2 Merfolk Scout. Whenever this creature attacks, you may tap another untapped Merfolk you control. When you do, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I just think like when this comes down, the game is gonna warp around it. It's gonna be like, okay, I gotta figure out what to do with this because I really don't want you to get value off of this.
I agree. I just think this dies to a sneeze, and then I think the first time it attacks, it's also gonna die.
Great, and then it's a 2-for-1. But you're so incentivized to block it that like, what if I protect it with a trick? What if I kill the thing you block with and I get another thing? Like, I think this is a really good card.
Okay.
It seems very engine-y to me. And then I ho-hum put a few removal spells on here, but I think these removal spells look quite good to me. The first is Protective Response. It's 2 and a white for an instant with Convoke. Destroy target attacking or blocking creature. This can be potentially free. This can help trigger your Merfolk stuff. And I think gone are the days where, while I do think like White's primary and secondary strategies, being Kithkin and Merfolk, are both aggressive, gone are the days where I'm knocking, like, killing a blocking creature still works for me in those decks. I'm not
Yes,
mad
I
about
agree.
that. And then lastly, I have Pyrrhic Strike, which is 2 and a white for an instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, you may blight 2, and you choose one, or if you blight 2, then you get to choose both instead. You can destroy target artifact or enchantment, or destroy target creature with mana value 3 or greater. And I do think there's a handful. I mean, this for sure, but there's a handful of incidental artifact and enchantment removal that does have me just like slightly nervous about the aura based removal that white and blue are bringing to the party, that I think are going to just catch some strays from cards like this.
I agree. That's definitely going to happen some amount of the time. Burden Stoneback is 1 and a white for an uncommon 4/4, enters with 2/1/1 counters on it, and you can pay 1 and a white to remove a counter from this to give target creature indestructible until end of turn. You can only do that at sorcery speed. And then another one is Encumbered Regery, which is 1 and a white for a 5/4, comes in with 3/1/1 counters, and whenever it becomes tapped, you remove -1/1 counter from it. Both of these cards seem like really absurd 2-drops to me. I just wanted to kind of highlight the Kithkin and the Blight synergies with my top uncommons.
Yes, I think the reasons I gave these like slightly lower grades was I was just feeling like when you're not blighting, I think these cards get a little worse. And I also think like your Kithkin deck is gonna want to be max Kithkin.
Correct.
Your Merfolk deck is gonna want to be max Merfolk.
Yes.
And so I don't. So then these cards, like, I mean, Encumbered Regery is going to be very good in the Merfolk
In a
deck.
Merfolk deck, yeah.
But also, if there are, and I think there's going to have to be, these sort of like, I'm going to keep calling them party decks, cards that are pulling from multiple things. There's like, I do a little bit of this, I do a little bit of Blight, I got some Merfolk. Like, those decks are going to also want cards like these. But I don't think that makes them B grade cards in my mind. But I could be wrong about that. So for blue, I agreed that primary was Merfolk. Secondary, I actually gave to fairies and not like elementals, not here for me. So primary Merfolk, secondary fairies, and tertiary Vivid for me. I think blue's going to play nicely in the Vivid space, thanks to certainly the basic land cycler it has. And the uniting factor among all of these, among what blue is doing, is instant speed, which is why I bumped fairies up and left elementals off the list.
Love it. I had a very similar thought. I said blues commons really want to play at instant speed, and I am here for it. Also, great removal for blue at common compared to what it normally gets. Blue gets some really strong interaction.
It's incredible in a world where I'm like, I'm a little nervous about what white's bringing to the party. For blue, I'm like, blue just seems easily like I don't know what the Vegas odds are right now. Blue seems like the best color in the set to me from jump.
Okay. I'm here for that. Also, like I said, I haven't given much thought to color power rankings, so I love that take.
Who are you and what have you done with Ben Werney?
It's been a busy week. I was doing good to get tribal rankings going on.
I threw 3 blue commons on my notable commons list. The first is Blossom Bind. 1 and a blue for an aura. Enchant creature. When this aura enters, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature can't become untapped. Can't become untapped is crazy. And can't have counters put on it. So you can't, it solves the white problem with you can't blight onto the creature either. I think
this is easily the best claustrophobia effect we've ever seen.
Ever.
And is better costed.
Yeah.
It's just 1 and a blue.
It's crazy. Power creep. An oldie but a goodie is back. Temporal Cleansing. 3 and a blue for a sorcery with Convoke. The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. Convoke on this effect is busted. It's just busted. Like,
yes,
we usually pay 4 mana at instant speed, but we pay 4 mana for this effect normally, and the fact that you could potentially pay 0 mana for this effect is incredible.
Well, and also worth noting that it's especially good because Merfolk are going to want to tap for the Convoke, so it's great in the Merfolk deck, but also for Elementals, if Elementals is better than you and I are thinking it's going to be, this is also 4 mana value for Elementals that you're not going to have to pay full price for necessarily.
I know, but it's like that's one of the reasons I knocked Elementals on this like 4 this MV4 thing is because this is like one of the only cards that lets you do it at a discount.
Correct.
There's no fire bending lesson. There's no thunder magic. There's no like modal ways to do it other than convoke, it seems like.
Correct.
And then our top common alert from last week, unexpected assistance, 3 blue for an instant with convoke, draw 3 cards, then discard a card.
I'm so obsessed with that card.
Card's real good. Did you put any other blue cards on your top notable commons list?
I did not. Those were my 3. We are 3 for 3 on the blue commons.
Okay. Blue uncommons. In the number 1 spot, I put Rhymekin Recluse. 2 and a blue for a 3/2 elemental wizard. When it enters, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. A nice 3 power, mana war effect. Number 2, I have Glamour Gifter. 1 and a blue for a 1/2 fairy wizard with flash and flying. And when it enters, choose up to 1 other target creature. Until end of turn, that creature has base power and toughness 4/4 and gains all creature types. There's a lot going on this card. The upside is really real with the potential to ambush 2 creatures in combat. Adding creature type to something at instant speed is also a benefit. This having a relevant type for fairies is good, or I guess fairies isn't a relevant type, but flash,
is a relevant ability.
Keyword. Yeah. Everything I like about that card.
I like that card a lot too. That should probably be on my list.
And then in the number 3 spot, I feel less confident about this. I have Unwelcome Sprite. It's 1 and a blue for a 2/1 fairy rogue with flying. And whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, surveil 2.
I mean, the card's good.
It's just good.
It's hard to go wrong with that card.
For sure. But top uncommon, like I feel like it's is this B range? I don't know. Is it C plus? For sure.
For sure, yes.
Yeah.
So we've got the same top uncommon, Rhymekin Recluse. Bummer that this is an elemental because every blue deck is just going to want it, but theoretically this will help elementals not be horrifically far behind while they're trying to cast 4 mana value spells.
Yeah.
Number 2 slot, I've got Swat Away. I think this card is also absurd. This is another one for elementals. This is 2 blue for an instant uncommon. This spell costs 2 less to cast if a creature is attacking you, and the owner of target spell or creature puts it on their choice at the top or bottom of their library. Okay. So this is another one that you could potentially cast for blue in the elementals deck. Yep. I think I'm slightly more of a believer in elementals than you are, just from hearing you talk about it. I'm also down on it, to be clear, but there's gonna be elementals decks.
You definitely are, because one of the only other cards that we had that difference of B grade, D grade was Tanafel Rhyme Speaker, which is it's 4 mana for a 2/4 in blue. That whenever you cast something with MV4 or greater, you draw a card. I think I'm 2 thumbs down on Rhyme Speaker.
You're 2 thumbs down. Well, that's my number 3 uncommon. What? Thank you for setting it up beautifully. But I think this is going to be a problem, much like it's not as smooth of a curve, right, as in Final Fantasy when you played your 3-drop that wanted you to cast mana value spells for a greater. What was the name of that card? Shantoto, Tactician Magician.
Yeah.
But this is a similar card to that in that it's going to be a problem. You're going to play this on 4, and then you're threatening after this. It's a must deal with card because every spell you cast after this is going to be cantripping.
I guess.
I mean, I don't love it, to be clear. I think
you seem to love it.
This should probably be off.
You seem to love it.
This should probably be off my list, and I should probably have the 1/2 Flash Fairy on my list.
Okay.
All right, it takes us on to black. Here are my thoughts on black. I said a lot of sleeper commons for me in black. Gray removal and a lot of situationally good creatures that you need to make sure are in the right situation. I think black is playing a lot in the blight space at uncommon, and all of that synergy with blight looks really pushed to me. Black looks like a bit of a jack of all trades, but it also looks like all of its decks that it is a jack of all trades in will work. Like I think goblins looks like it works, elves looks like it works, and blight really looks like it works to me.
I agree, but this is another one where I'm trying to I am prone to like black. And I feel like I'm prone to overrate this color. And so I'm trying to temper that, but I feel all of those things. I did give it a primary of elves, but I agree it's close, but I gave it a primary of elves, a secondary of goblins, and a tertiary of blight. But the uniting
Interesting. Factor I think it would give it primary blight.
Primary blight. Well, that's in my uniting factor was -1/-1 counters. Like all 3 of these decks have places to put them and ways to remove them. very effectively.
So then Blight's got to be primary, right?
I guess
Like
Blight's
this
primary.
black looks to me like what you're describing the most, where it's going to be, well, we're doing a little of this elf stuff, we're doing a little of this goblin stuff, and Blight is tying the room together.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I see that. I see that. And I also have a ton of black sleeper commons that I was like, this seems like a thing like where no other color had that. No other color had like a list of 5 cards where I was like, this is interesting.
Correct. So top commons, notable commons for me: Bog Slither's Embrace, 1 and a black for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, Blight 1 or pay 3. Exile target creature. This looks absurd, especially assuming that you're viewing Blight 1 as an upside.
Yep.
Blight Rot is up next. This is 2 and a black for an instant. Put 4 -1/-1 counters on target creature.
Yep. Those
Just
two are on my list as well.
sleeper commons for me, because those are my only 2 notable commons.
Okay.
Auntie's Sentence, or is it Auntie's Sentence? Feels like it should be Auntie's Sentence as a goblin card. 1
I
and a
agree.
black sorcery, choose 1. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land permanent card from it. That player discards that card, or target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn.
I almost wanted to put this on my notable commons list.
I did too. It's a very cool card.
This is the best. Like usually this split, they've started doing this split card version of the discard variant or do something else. But it's usually make a vanilla 2/2.
Yes.
This being a removal spell as a split card to this. Now it only hits permanents. Non-land permanent card is what you can grab out of their hand. But it seems really good to me.
I like it. Next up, I've got Dawnhand Eulogist, 3 and a black for a 3/3 with Menace. When this creature enters, mill 3 cards. Then if there's an elf card in your graveyard, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. This looks like a banger for an elf deck.
Well, I totally agree. And elf decks care about your graveyard being filled with elves. So
Correct.
not only is this helping fuel that, but also 4 mana 3/3 with types that drains 2 is going to be good.
Yeah. Next up, I've got Dream Caesar, 3 and a black for a 3/2 with flying. When this creature enters, you can blight 1. If you do, each opponent discards a card.
Yep, I think that card is sneaky good.
And they're going to go in different decks, right? Like that's why it's hard to put either one in the notable commons.
Mm-hmm.
But I think black getting 4 drops that are powerful, that are probably going to go pretty late, seems like a boon for it.
Yeah, well, and we're going to get to the black uncommons. Maybe you're right. Okay, maybe black is like the prime party color. Because I feel like black gets some really good shapeshifter spells at uncommon that we'll touch in on that are going to also like, okay, that's in your graveyard. Cool. Now when I can play my elf mill card that's going to drain 2 in any black deck because I'm just going to have those shapeshifter changeling cards in my deck.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Next up, Scarblade's Malice. Black for an instant. Target creature you control gains Death Touch and Lifelink until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, make a 2/2 black and green elf creature token.
Yeah. Is this good?
I think so.
It's hard. Like there was a lot of scuttle about this card in the Lord's Limited Discord.
Was there? I didn't see any of that scuttle.
Yeah. So comparing it to, there was toxin analysis from Murders at Karlov Manor, which did this effect, but instead of giving you a 2/2, gave you a clue. That card wasn't that good. But we've also had effects like this. There was a similar card in that set that I think gave like +2/+0 or whatever, and then when it died, you made a 2/2 detective. So we've like seen these kinds of effects, the +3/+0 and Manifest Dread from Duskmourn. We've seen these effects to varying degrees of success. So jury's out for me on this, but I definitely have eyes on it. So I think that's a right spot for Sleeper Common then.
And that's it for black. Those 4.
I have a couple others to add to the list. One is Bile Vile Boggart, which is single black for a 1/1 Goblin Assassin. When it dies, you put a -1/-1 counter on up to 1 target creature. I like these cards. Like, I like this kind of effect when it's a 1 mana 1/1. When it dies, the thing gets -1/-1 until end of turn. This is much better than that because it leaves the counter. This wears blight counters well. It trades with a 2 toughness creature. It has a good type. I think this card's going to be really good. And one that I'm just curious about, Moonglove Extractor. 2 and a black for a 2/1 elf warlock. Whenever this creature attacks, you draw a card and lose a life. It's got types. It plays really well with your Death Touch lifelink trick that
It
then's
really
going to leave
does.
around a 2/2. Like, if this ever gets multiple attacks,
How
it's
is it
sort of,
ever getting multiple attacks? It's a 2/1 3 drop.
I
I
don't
mean, I
know.
guess maybe your opponent's stuck or whatever. The thing that is nice is it's definitely going to go to the graveyard, hopefully trades with something on the way and cantrips. I agree. I am curious about that one.
That's the thing is, like, they don't have to have a 3 toughness creature in play. So, like, this might just trade, and they have to trade with it. They can't let this get multiple attacks.
How did I not love this card? I love a Scroll Thief.
I know you love this effect, but this is better than a Scroll Thief because it doesn't have to connect.
Yeah, that seems like a miss from me.
I think that's a miss. That's demerits for you, I think.
I agree.
Okay, black uncommons in the number 1 spot. The aforementioned Shapeshifter Changelings. Nameless Inversion is a reprint. It says 1 and a black for a Kindred instant Shapeshifter. It has every creature type. Target creature gets +3/-3 and loses all creature types until end of turn. I think this is a banger removal spell. It does a ton. And potentially, if you got a 4 toughness creature, it could be Lava Spike. Could deal 3 extra damage on combat.
Could be Lava Spike. It's also going to be an elf in your graveyard for the elves deck.
Yes.
Oh, this card does it all.
Grave Shifter is my number 2, 3 and a black for a 2/2 Shapeshifter with Changeling. When it enters, you may return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand.
So I think that's another interesting thing to dial into, because I think from hearing you talk about Changeling, I think I am slightly lower on Changeling as a thing than you are. I think it's good. I think it's all upside. I just don't know that I think about it as quite as good as, for example, Lesson from Avatar. And I feel like you're viewing it on par with that.
I think it's better.
Better.
I think it's better than Lesson as a type.
Okay.
Because
it's just going to make small incidental synergies happen.
And it's going to just make your life easier. Like, it's going to make your life easier in draft. It's going to make your life easier in deck building. It's going to make your life easier in the game, I think.
Yeah, that's a good take.
And then my third is Gnarlbark Elm. 2 and a black for a 3/4 Treefolk Warlock that enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So 3 mana for a 1/2, yikes. But you can pay 2 and a black, remove 2 counters from this creature. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Hello, Blight Payoff.
Yeah, that card's quite good. That also made my list in the number 3 slot. Nameless Inversion was also my number 1. I had a different number 2, which is Creekwood Safe Right. I really like these cycle of creatures. There's kind of creatures like this in every color. This is 1 and a black for an uncommon 5/5. Yes, you heard that right. But this creature enters with 3 -1/-1 counters on it. At the beginning of your end step, if there's an elf card in your graveyard and this creature has a -1/-1 counter on it, remove a -1/-1 counter from this creature. It's going to potentially be a place to dump blight counters. It's also just Tarmogoyf for 2 mana. Like, very, very strong, I think.
Yeah. I like that card. It was hard picking I feel like you were bolder, like the Kithkin enchantment as your number 1 white common. I feel like you were bolder at picking cards that were like, this only goes in one deck, but it's going to be an ace in this one deck. And I think, trying to play it a little safer with cards that are going to go in multiple decks as my top uncommons.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, takes us on to red. What thoughts do you have on red?
Again, I feel like red has gotten the short end of the straw in the play booster era mostly, but I am also, again, trying to temper I feel like I wasn't high enough on red for Avatar. I wasn't high enough on red for Tarkir Dragonstorm. So I'm trying to not miss here, but red is tough for me to wrap my head around. I said primary goblins, secondary elementals, like hard to not say secondary elementals here. And I could even see primary being elementals because I feel like if elementals isn't as bad as we think it is, then that's like, it's like, oh, that unlocks like 6 great red cards.
Correct.
But I'm sort of looking at those 6 red cards as like, is this good enough? So that's where I'm at right now with red as primary goblins, secondary elementals, and then tertiary, I said vivid because it has fixing, hybrids, and a suite of removal for the game to go long. But I want to touch in on those removal spells because I have questions about all of them. And the uniting factor I said was interaction, question mark. Like white, it feels like it has 3 distinct lanes and not a lot of overlap between them.
Yeah, I think I have some similar questions. A thing that stood out to me was that red looks a lot mid-rangier than usual to me at common.
Hmm.
It's had some beefier creatures, looked a little bit on the slower side, and it doesn't look quite as deep as some of the other colors at uncommon, but I do think its top 4 or 5 uncommons are still truly excellent.
Yes.
I don't love the look of red green as a deck. It just doesn't look like a deck. So maybe it's all just Teamer Vivid. That's kind of what I assume.
Yes, that's what I think.
But again, jury's out for me on how that all is gonna play out.
There's Cinder Strike, which is single red for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may blight 1. It deals 2 damage to target creature. It deals 4 damage to that creature instead if this spell's additional cost was paid. The single red or the single mana deal 2 or single mana -2/-2 effects that we see are significantly worse when they're sorcery speed because they don't let you steal the play back when you're on the draw. They don't let you go, I have 1 mana, my opponent plays their 2-drop, and I pick it off.
Correct.
So I am knocking Cinder Strike for that purpose.
Can I
But
rebuttal?
please, that's what I want. I need you to talk me up on these cards, I think.
I think Cinder Strike's absurd. Like,
Okay.
because this does have the Grim Bauble problem, but it solves the Grim Bauble problem in that it can still kill bigger things. Like Grim Bauble couldn't take the playback, but it also couldn't kill bigger things. Cinder Strike
Can.
can and is hyper efficient, and presumably you can turn Blight 1 into Upside in the Mardu colors pretty easily, and Blight 1 isn't that big of a cost to pay for a deck that's not turning Blight 1 into Upside. I think Cinder Strike looks incredible.
Yeah. So Hex Gold Slash is one of the cards this makes me think of, which was the single red burn spell from Phyrexia All Will Be One. Dealt 2. It was an instant. Single red, deal 2, but it dealt 4 if the thing had Toxic. And being able to pick off just whatever, a 4-drop, a 5-drop for 1 mana was absolutely backbreaking. And this doesn't have, like, this is sorcery speed and you have to blight, but it doesn't have to be a toxic creature. It could be any creature in the format.
Any creature in the format, and also might be you get to Blight. It might not be you have to Blight.
Okay, I'm sold on Cinder Strike. It's in my top commons list. Conversation over about that card. Next is Tweeze. 2 and a red instant. Deal 3 damage to any target. You may discard a card if you do draw a card.
I left this out. I don't think this gets there. I think this is worse than either of the other 2 removal spells, and as such, like, I think you'll be fine to play it, but I don't think it is anything special. I think it is too clunky, too poorly costed. And it's not 4 mana value for the elementals thing. Like, it's all at all of the wrong intersections for me.
And like, it's reminiscent to me. You were higher on Bombard in EOE than I was. That was the 3 mana deal for. But I felt like that was sort of a no man's land of like, yeah, you can maybe get even on mana, but it doesn't kill the biggest things, and you're trading down on mana for the smaller things. And that's how I feel about Tweeze.
I agree. I don't love Tweeze.
Okay, Feed the Flames is the 3rd red common removal spell. 3 and a red instant. Deals 5 damage to target creature. If that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. This
great.
Just kills. It's mostly just murder. Is that what you think?
I think this is a good card at the right mana cost for the elementals deck, assuming that matters. It exiles. I think this is a premium removal spell, bread and butter.
And this is in your notable commons list?
In my notable commons, it and Cinder Strike, yes.
But Cinder Strike better than Feed the Flames for you? Yes or no?
I think so, yes. Cinder Strike, number 1 for me.
I'm definitely sold on Cinder Strike and definitely fine with Tweeze being out. Feed the Flames, yeah, I could see it. Any other red cards that made your notable list?
Yes. Brambleback Brute, which is 2 and a red for a 4/5, enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it, and you can pay 1 and a red, remove a counter from this creature. Target creature can't block this turn. Activate only as a sorcery. I think this is going to be the neighborhood bully.
Yep, I also have this on my list.
Looks real strong.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. But and to your point about red mid-range, like, this is mid-range with a capital M.
But like mid-range that hits hard. This is going to come down as what, a 2/3,
2/3,
right? Which is a respectable stat line. But this does the thing that I love about Scroll Thief too, which is like it kind of forces your opponent to race. and maybe they don't want
Right.
to. Like, I think this has an outsized effect on the game for what looks like just a ho-hum 3-drop common type creature. Burning Curiosity, 2 and a red for a sorcery. As an additional cost to cast it, you can blight 1, and you exile the top 2 cards of your library. If the spell's additional cost was paid, exile the top 3 cards instead. Until end of your next turn, you may play those cards.
Mid-range.
Mid-range.
And
And I think Mardu Blight decks, this looks really good to me.
this gives Mardu Blight a divination.
Yes.
I mean, not actually divination because you can't cast it on turn 3. I mean, you
Ancestral.
shouldn't.
Gives them
You
Ancestral.
shouldn't. It does give them kind of ancestral in the late game, yeah. We both gave this a diminishing returns grade, which is notable. That means we think red decks are going to really like the first copy, and then the second copy gets a lot worse.
Yeah, that's my only sleeper red common.
Okay, red uncommons. In the number 1 spot, I actually kind of want to make I don't know. I'll stick with it. In the number 1 spot, I have Seer. 1 on red instant, deal 4 to target creature, planeswalker. Just good, clean removal. I almost want to audible and switch and put my number 2 as my number 1, which is Sourbread Auntie. 2 red for a 4/3 goblin warrior. When it enters, you may blight 2. If you do, create 2 1/1 black and red goblin creature tokens. So, just on its face, this is 3 bodies. You get a 4 mana for a 2/1 and 2 1/1s. But if you have something to dump counters on and you're getting a 4 mana 4/3 and 2 1/1s, and the blight is upside because you're putting the counters on something else, boy, howdy, is this card a house.
I think you should make that audible. I think Sourbread Auntie is nuts.
It's pushed, right? The card's good.
Pushed.
And then my number 3 is Warren Torchmaster, which is 1 and a red for a 2/2 goblin warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may blight 1. When you do, target creature gains haste until end of turn. Again, if we're thinking one just on face, this is a good aggressive card, and having that modality of a thing can get haste if you put a -1/-1 counter on it, or put a -1/-1 counter on something else that doesn't have attacks. This can wear a counter at least once. But again, if blight is upside and this is free blight every turn,
what's not to like? Yeah, and I think we have the same 3 here as a nod to reds uncommons really being top heavy. It's pretty obvious which ones are good, and then they fall off a bit after that. I have them in a different order. I have Torchmaster 1, the Auntie 2. I almost think I kind of want to switch that also and
make Torchmaster 1. Yeah, I think Auntie's better than Torchmaster.
Torchmaster's so sick. So good.
Auntie's so good.
They're both so good.
Yeah.
I think Seer is definitely in third. I feel confident about that take.
Okay, green. What do you got going on with green?
Green gets some banger 4-drops at common.
Yeah.
Very well statted creatures, and it's got Midnight Tilling to find the bombs and the Graveyard Synergy, which is, I should read Midnight Tilling. It's like I can't think of the name of these.
Cash grab.
Malevolent
Rumble. Yeah.
That was the one I was trying to think of. Malevolent Rumble. So it's 1 and a green for an instant, mill 4 cards, and you can return a permanent card from among them to your hand. That's in my top commons.
Just to dial in on that card in particular, Malevolent Rumble gave you an 0/1. Cash grab potentially gave you a food. This doesn't give you anything. I feel like that's sort of the hallmark for these effects being pushed over the top. Do you feel like this is just good on its own without that?
This is giving you elves in your graveyard, plus finding your elf payoffs. I think this is an elves only card, but I think it's going to be very good in the elves deck.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, I gave green primary elves, secondary Kithkin, tertiary vivid, and the uniting factor is large in all caps. Because not only does green do a good job, as you're talking about, doing what we like green to do, which is give you great rate cards at 4 mana and 5 mana that outclass the other big
colors cards,
other colors cards at those costs. But also its early plays are I'm a 2/2, but I'll be a 5/5 in 3 turns if you want me to. Or the Kithkin stuff that's as you cast Kithkin, I'm getting bigger and bigger. And so it's not only getting big stuff at the higher mana value, but it's also getting big stuff that grows as the game progresses.
All right, it's top commons. So Midnight Tilling was on my list. I could cut that one. Safe Right Cavalry. This is 3 and a green for a common 4/4. Can't be blocked by more than one creature. And you can pay 5 to give target elf you control +2/+2 until end of turn.
I like that card. It did not make my list.
It's going to make combat a nightmare, much like that Kithkin uncommon.
Yeah.
You're just going to be swinging out, and your opponent's not going to know where you're putting +2/+2.
Mm-hmm.
I really like
It's a
Safe-Ride
hefty
Cavalry.
cost, though.
Hefty cost, but threat of activation.
I know, but like, yeah. I mean, maybe that's more the times where you're like, you go to do it, and you're like, I have threat of activation, and I go, cool, bet, and then I have a removal spell to respond to your activation. That's a huge tempo swing. But I guess that's just a point of like pick your spots for those
Sure.
decisions.
Next up, Mist Meadow Council. 4 and a green for a 4/3 common. Costs 1 less to cast if you control a Kithkin or a Changeling. And when this creature enters, draw a card.
Hello, Assault Road Pack Beast.
Yeah, that card is real strong.
I think that's just good. Like, I don't think you need to be Kithkins. And also, it's another card that's like so good if you're thinking about changelings the way I am, or thinking about these party decks the way I am, where it's like, you don't need to be all in on Kithkin. But if you just got one little buddy, this being 4 mana is huge.
Correct. Those are my green cards on the top commons.
I have a couple others to shout out. Great Forest Druid. It's 1 and a green for an 0/4 Treefolk Druid, and it taps to add a mana of any color. I think this is really gonna be. I think this is just good to your point of green has banger 4 mana and 5 mana plays.
Just to ramp into them, yeah.
Getting them a turn sooner is good. This wears blight counters like nobody's business as a 4 toughness creature, so it sort of solves the problem of what do I do with my mana dork in the late game when it's done its job, and also it's like Birds of Paradise for the Vivid decks.
Yeah, I like that show.
And on the flip side, I have Crossroads Watcher, which is 2 and a green for a 3/3 Kithkin Ranger with Trample. And whenever another creature you control enters, this creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. This is, I think, just a functional reprint, except it's a Kithkin, not an elf, of a card that I really liked. I think it was kind of the top green common in Foundations. And I think this is a huge problem. You have to block it. And if I have a trick or a way to protect it or a way to kill your blocker, just pushes a ton of damage.
Yeah, I like that card as well.
Yeah. Green uncommons. What do you got?
Green uncommons, number 1 slot. What a card. Pummeler for hire.
I knew it. I knew you were going to do this.
But you don't like this card?
No, I do. This was my number 1. I did bump it down, but this card's incredible.
Yeah, hire some giant mercenaries. This is 4 and a green for a 4/4 uncommon. Vigilance, Reach, Ward 2. And when it enters, you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among giants you control. So you're gaining 4 life. This card is beautiful.
Yep.
Number 2, I've got Pitiless Fists. This is 3 and a green for an enchantment aura. Enchant creature you control. When this aura enters, enchanted creature fights up to 1 target creature an opponent controls. An enchanted creature gets +2/+2.
Yep, I love that card as well.
And in the number 3 slot, I've got Morkant's Eyes, which is 1 and a green for a kindred enchantment elf. Uncommon. At the beginning of your upkeep, surveil 1, 4 GG, sacrifice it, create X 2/2 black and green untapped elf creature tokens, where X is the number of elf cards in your graveyard. Activate only as a sorcery.
Is there a spider spawning variant in the format? If so, I will put it in my top uncommons.
I am there.
I had your number 1 and your number 2 as my number 1 and my number 2. And then I bumped them both down in place of my number 1 is Blossoming Defense. Single green for an instant. Target creature you control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof until end of turn. I think this is gonna be the best green uncommon. This how I'm thinking about the format of there's lots of engines, there's lots of key cards for strategies. Killing them is important, then as important is protecting them, and Blossoming Defense is going to help you keep your engines running.
Except the thing I want to push back on that is I don't think green does that nearly as well as white, for example, or blue. I guess it's in Kithkin. It's going to be really good at protecting
and
Kithkin.
Vivid are all interested in protect. Every deck wants to play to the board and keep it that way.
Any colorless cards cracking the notable commons or the sleeper commons for you?
I have one multicolor and one colorless card. My colorless card is the titular card of the episode, Changeling Wayfinder, the 3 mana 1/2 Changeling that finds a basic when it comes into play. And I have Marrow Sky Swimmer, which is 3 Azorius for a 2/2 Merfolk Soldier with Convoke. It has flying and vigilance, and when it enters, you make a 1/1 white and blue merfolk creature token.
Yeah, this card is absurd. This is what I want from my thing that makes multiple bodies. Flying, vigilance, convoke. Give me all that. Stalactite Dagger is up next. 2 mana for an equipment. When it enters, create a 1/1 colorless shapeshifter creature token with Changeling. Equipped creature gets +1/+1 as all creature types, and an equip cost of 2. I did see some Scuttle in the Lords of Limited Discord poo-pooing this, and I say to you, how dare you, honestly? This card looks excellent to me.
Yeah, it's interesting in the world of like Kyoshi Battle Fan or whatever the colorless one from
But
Final
this gives
Fantasy is.
+1/+1.
It doesn't auto equip though. So you're not getting a 2 mana
Oh, you're
2/2.
not getting a 2/2. Okay, I like this a lot less. I didn't realize that
You're
about it.
getting a
Okay.
2 mana 1/1 and then the equipment. But I do think that getting a 2 mana, like 2 mana 1/1 shapeshifter, I think is good.
I thought it auto equipped. I'm
Yeah.
a little I'm much more of a sleeper common on it than I
Yes.
am closer to it being a top common, realizing that it doesn't auto equip.
Yeah.
I have a few multicolored uncommons to shout as well. Chaos Spewer, which is 2 in Rakdos for a 5/4 common. When it enters, you can pay 2. If you don't, blight 2. I just like that this can potentially be blight upside. Like you're maybe going to be getting a 3 mana 5/4 plus 2 -1/-1 counters somewhere that you care about. I think
Yep.
that's got huge potential. Mischievous Sneakling, 1 and Demir for a 2/2 changeling with flash. Looks great in the blue-black deck, and I think is going to do some work smoothing out some of your other stuff like you're talking about. And then Wary Farmer, which is 1 Selesnya for a 3/3. At the beginning of your end step, if another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, surveil 1. It's going to help keep the gas flowing in the old Kithkin deck.
Prideful Feastling, I think, should be out there as well. It's 2 and Orzhov for a 2/3 shapeshifter. So it's a changeling with lifelink. I think the single pipped, like the one the Demir one as well, the single pipped hybrid changelings are just like the glue
Glue
of
gold.
glue of
Yes.
like,
Yes.
this goes in many decks. It counts as 2 colors for a vivid. It counts as all creature types. Like, those cards seem good to me. But I've got many wolves inside of me as I'm wrestling with. I have over indexed in the past of like, I want to bump up the cards that go in multiple things because they let me delay the decision and they and it's like, nah, just pick the good cards. Just pick the cards with high
Yes.
ceilings.
Just pick the Kithkin cards that go in the Great Kithkin deck. Don't delay the
Correct.
decision. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. So, but I think Prideful Feastling is nice. It's also 3 mana 2/3, so it's going to wear some blight counters and stick around. Yada yada. I like that card.
Multicolored uncommons that stand out for me. Number 1, putting my money where my mouth is. Thoughtweft Lieutenant. Green white for an uncommon 2/2. When this creature or another Kithkin you control enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn.
Yeah, I like that card a lot.
I think that card's going to hit like a freight train, and I hope the Kithkin deck is as good as I think it is. I could see it getting too easily disrupted by removal. I think that is going to be a problem for the Kithkin deck, but all signs point to there are a lot of Kithkin cards that care about a lot of other Kithkin cards.
Right. I don't think it's it's not a glass house. Like Kithkin doesn't feel like if you kill the Lord, the deck crumbles.
Correct.
So I don't think it's going to have that problem.
In the number 2 slot, I've got Reaping Willow. 1 Orzhov for our 3/6 lifelink that enters with 2 -1/-1 counters, and then you can pay 1 on an Orzhov, remove 2 counters to return target creature card mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield.
Yeah, that card is that's the number 1 in my heart.
And then I followed up with the other 2 lords. So in the number 3 slot, I've got the Merfolk Lord, Deep Channel Duelist, white blue for a 2/2. At the beginning of your end step, untap a Merfolk, and other Merfolk get +1/+1. And in the number 4 slot, my honorable mention slot, I've got Morkan's Loyalist, 1 black green for a 3/2. Elves you control get +1/+1. And when this dies, you can return an elf card from your graveyard to your hand. Notably, you're going to be able to loop these if you get multiple of them. Honestly, I do think the top 3 multicolored uncommons should probably be, it should be the 3 lords, but I just put Reaping Willow in there because I love Reaping Willow. Yeah.
That's the thing is like, that's how I feel is like the top 3 is probably the 3 lords, but that feels boring to me. So I wanted to shout out a couple other cards. There is this cycle of hybrid cards that Impulse 4 and let you reveal either a card that is a creature type from among them that is of that color pairs type, or a land from among them. And the one that's 2 mana, like most of them are 3 mana. This one is 2 and it's incredible. Eclipsed Kithkin is Selesnya for a 2/1. When it enters, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a Kithkin, Forest, or Plains card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. I think this being 2 mana makes the land part of this equation way more exciting than the 3 mana ones that can find lands. Because like
Correct.
having 2 mana and this in your opener is just like, oh, amazing. I know I'm going to get to hit my 3rd land drop. But then also, like, this finds Kithkin, but it also finds Changelings. It also finds Nameless Inversion. Like, these cards are good, I think. So I just wanted to shout out that cycle, but I think the Selesnya 2-drop, as if Kithkin needed it, like, is just going to be really good. And a card that I think is going to be sneaky good is Noggle Robber. The 1 Gruul 3/3. When it enters or dies, makes a treasure. I think this is very Vivid coded, and it's going to tie the room together for the Vivid decks really well, with it being a 3 mana 3/3, it being 2 colors itself, it giving you a treasure twice. I think it's going to be real good. I want to talk about color rankings before we wrap up here.
Okay.
White, I feel like, as you shouted out, you're like white, green, and white, blue. And I see that. I think Kithkin and Merfolk are great decks. White's commons, and maybe this just doesn't matter, and I should go back to both of our format truths about the uncommons are bangers, and some commons are good, and the rest are situational. White's commons don't excite me that much, and that has me not wanting to get into white from jump.
I feel like that might be leveling yourself a little
Yeah.
bit. I think, I mean, obviously way too early to say. Haven't even looked at a generated pack yet. But my guess is that this is not going to be like an Edge of Eternity situation where the packs dry up. Like, there's a lot of really good cards at uncommon and common.
It's interesting because I feel like, this is again pure speculation, but what else are we doing here? Is that it's not that the packs are going to dry up necessarily, but if you're not in the right lane, like
It's
I
going
feel
to be
like
rough, yes. If
because
you're drafting elves and the person passing you is drafting elves, that's going to be a rough go.
if that tier of common, I feel like the tier of commons that is goes in one deck.
Mm-hmm.
If you're seeing cards that are going in one deck, pick 7, 8, wheel, and you're not in that deck,
Yes,
you're in trouble. And
I agree.
so I'm like trying to position myself to be in spots where I can capitalize on that the most, and that makes me want to take cards and colors that I feel like have more of a spread, and those are the Sultai colors for me currently.
Okay.
That's around like, and it's not that I think like blue, black, blue, green, and black, green are gonna be the best decks, though I do have pretty big eyes for black, green, and blue, black. But like those are the colors that I do feel like are gonna give me the most pivot points. Whereas I feel like white is a color where you're gonna be like, take Kithkin card, or take Merfolk card, take Merfolk card, and hold on for dear life. Whereas I feel like the blue and the black and the green cards are gonna let me say, take blue cards, they go in good blue decks. Take black cards, they go in good black decks, and then I can figure it out.
Except the thing I want to push back on that is I love white blighting as well. So if you start, like, blight's going to be such a good off ramp. Like, so you start Kithkin, and you get pushed off Kithkin. Like, you should, it's like cycling in Ikoria, right? Like, I loved red in Ikoria because you could try to toe the line, try to push your way into cycling. And if you got pushed out of it, you still had this great fallback of, okay, let me be blue-red Forbidden Friendship spells, or let me be like all these red cards work together. Let me be a red synergy deck. I think white has Blight as this really good fallback deck.
But the cards that if you are starting your draft with Kithkin card, and again, I'm not saying I'm not going to take like whatever. This is an ace and a Kithkin deck. I'm not taking those early. I think I will, but it's not like when I pivot into Blight, those cards are good in the Blight version of white necessarily.
Correct, but I think what I'm trying to say is I feel like you're knocking white for saying like, well, it's only got these 1 or 2 lanes, and so you're going to have to hold on for dear life. Like, I think you're framing white as high risk, high reward, and I think it's high reward without taking on that much risk, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah, I think high risk, high reward is exactly how I feel about white. That is a good way to frame it. And so maybe I'll just try and keep that in check as we get into our first drafts of the format, which we're going to get to do on Wednesday, thanks to
Gonna
early
get to do
access.
on Wednesday. And I'm actually gonna get a pre-release, which is sweet. So going up to the band directors convention in Fort Wayne. So if anybody's in Fort Wayne, I'm looking for an LGS rec. I'm gonna be driving the old Jasper Wildcats minibus to the parking lot, rolling up in style and drafting some
Wow.
Lorwyn Eclipsed.
Let's go. Will you bring any of your students with you?
No, they have obligations in honor bands. I mean, that's why there's the minibus. I am driving them to Fort Wayne, but they will be rehearsing and I will be playing some Magic the Gathering.
Love to see it.
I don't think I've gone to. I have not been very professionally developed at our professional development concert
Eh,
or whatever weekend conference. That's the word I was looking for. I just schmooze and go do other things.
yeah. Look, we're happy to have you pre-releasing. I'm not mad about it.
I think that the format is way more than tribal. Like I think it's easy to look at this format and dismiss it as, oh, this is going to be a less interesting format because it's the five typal decks. I think Blight and hopefully Vivid adds a lot of depth, and I think takes away a lot of what people didn't like about Ixalan, which is like, well, I'm going to take Pirates and I'm going to hope Pirates is open. I think
Yeah.
there's a lot of really good ways to, if you start Kithkin and get pushed off it, still have a great white deck. Or if you start Elves and get pushed off Elves, still have a great black deck, or etc. Do you know what I mean?
I
think
do.
I see that, and I think that is very appealing to me about the format.
I think there's still, for me, I don't know a down note, but I do think that the prevailing thing will still be that like in on the best of one ladder, you're just going to be like, oh my god, another nuts Kithkin deck, another nuts Merfolk deck, another nuts whatever deck. I think that's more the sort of, sorry to do this dad thing, but the blight on the format will be.
Maybe, but then we get to follow our 2026 New Year's resolutions and play more best of 3.
There it is. Love
And
that.
on that note, thank you as always to Salty Pretzels for our intro and outro music. Make sure you give it a listen.
You can find all our content on our website at lordsoflimited.com. There is links to our Patreon page, our YouTube channel, our Twitch streams, respectively, our merch, all of that available at lordsoflimited.com.
If you've got any feedback about the show or any questions, shoot us an email at lordsoflimited@gmail.com.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next week for another episode of Lords of Limited.
Thanks, everybody. See you later.